I guess I better unmute myself so you can hear me. So, greetings, everyone. My name is Dale Parrish. I'm the virtual program coordinator for Convention of States Indiana Live here in the state of Indiana. I want to welcome you all to our broadcast this evening. And with me again tonight is my co-host, Mr. Ken Kashuba. Ken, did you see the eclipse today?
Yes, happy Eclipse Day. I was able to sit in my backyard and prop back with my fancy glasses on, and I even got a photo of it after it was fully covered by the moon. I didn't want to ruin my camera sensor, so I didn't have a very strong enough filter on it. So I took
I thought about that, but I guess you needed some special equipment to take a photo of that. But,
yeah, those sensors on the cameras are pretty sensitive, so I didn't want to mess with that. But I did see it. It was an awesome event.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, my wife and I, we sat on our patio, our backyard, and got to see it. So, quite an event. Well, Ken, for those of you joining us tonight for the first time, Ken will be monitoring the comments and questions from our viewers. So if you are viewing tonight through our Facebook page or our YouTube channel, feel free to, and you want to make a comment or ask a question, feel free to enter such through the chat feature. So, and Ken will be monitoring those and will flash up any that seem to be applicable to what we're talking about. Ken, this is broadcast number 239, and you have been on board for 103. So we keep racking up the numbers, don't we?
Yeah, you're pushing that 250 mark. You'll be approaching that the country's birthday there pretty soon.
Yes. Well, let's hope it continues going.
Yeah, that's if we can get our way with COS, we should be able to get there.
Right. Well, Ken, why don't you give us a little quick rundown on the QR code and how people can become subscribers?
Sure. We'd love to have people subscribe right there with that little QR code. All you got to do is take your smartphone out, and you don't need any special glasses for it. All you need to do is point it at the QR code and get yourself registered as a subscriber to COS Indiana Live. Lots of great things are happening on the platform, and a lot of special features that aren't available anywhere else. So if you want some of those special videos and instructions and certain types of upcoming events, you can become a subscriber, and you'll get all that and more.
Excellent. Well, Ken, I've been doing this for some time now, and I'm going to bring it up again, and that is the debt clock. I think, of course, addressing the national debt is one of the pillars of the Convention of States resolution calling for a Convention of States for the purpose of proposing amendments to the Constitution. And this is one of the things that we want to address. And I just want to touch base on this on every broadcast because I think it's a really, really high priority. We're approaching, Ken, the $35 trillion mark. And once again, I timed it, and it only took 30 seconds to rack up $1 million in debt, further debt. So
that's amazing. It's not the shot clock at the NCAA finals. That is the actual trillions of dollars just being run up by our runaway government. I agree.
That's right. It's hard to see this, and there's so much information there. One of our volunteers, Gary Harbaugh, is doing a series on our national debt called Debt Avalanche. So we'll be bringing him on. And if you're a subscriber, you'll be able to view all the videos that Gary produces regarding our national debt. So I just wanted to bring that on and bring that to everyone's attention. So we've got two guests tonight, and the first one is our state director, Dale Tipton. Dale's going to come on and give us an update on Convention of States here in Indiana for the month of March, and let us know what's happening and what's going on. And after Dale, we have another guest, Debbie Stewart, coming on to talk to us about squatter rights and constitutional property rights. So that's really kind of been in the news here lately, and it seems to be a problem that's really getting out of hand. Wouldn't you agree, Ken?
Yeah, I think every time you turn on the news now, you see another story about somebody struggling with what you would normally look at and say, there's no common sense to it. It doesn't make any sense to you.
It doesn't. It doesn't. Anyway, speaking of common sense, let's bring on Dale Tipton, our state director.
That's a good.
Hello, Dale.
Hello, gentlemen. Nice segue. I like that common sense comment.
Yeah, Dale was working on that one. He had to come up with something new for you. So
yeah, I appreciate that.
Well, Dale, tell us about what's happening with the Convention of States here in Indiana.
Well, gentlemen, for the month of March, I think our volunteers are kind of sliding out of their winter cocoon. We had a little bit more action as far as reports of different things going on, up 34 from February. And so that's something we look at just to kind of gauge activity. And so we're getting very close to the time where events will start being planned. Events, meetings are ongoing and stuff. And so people are just kind of getting warmed up, I think. There's a lot of election activity that's starting to percolate with, primaries and things. So we're just getting ready.
Okay. All right. So what else is going on? And see, you got, I know you mentioned some telepatriot calls that are being made.
So that was basically the mission that we did to try to find people who could attend the state capitol on a regular basis. During the court, we focused basically on every county that either touched or bordered on the Indianapolis area around Marion County. And so we were able to complete 858 calls during that mission. And that's a fairly significant number. It was just all done by the folks here in Indiana. So I was pleased that we were able to make that many calls. And we had a number of people come out to the state capitol we'd never seen before. And so we hope to continue to build on that going into the future. Good
deal. Well, I know you mentioned, I wanted to mention the views that we're generating on COS Indiana Live.
Well, this is a thing that's kind of continued amazement, right? I mean, we started off with a few hundred, and we were clicking along at a few hundred for like a long time, and you guys made a few changes with our friend Charlie, and all of a sudden you're up into the thousands, and not just thousands, you're way up into the thousands. So
yeah.
I guess our record was, let's see.
Well, actually, the record was in January, 26,900. Now, I think you had noted an earlier record, about the same number, but 26.9 was the record, and we came close to it in March, but didn't quite get there.
Yeah, 25,471, but that's still, whenever you look at the overall goal of Convention of States of trying to spread our message and make other people aware that we're out there and that we exist. If you talk to people on the street, there's an awful lot of people that have yet to hear about Convention of States or Article 5 in the Constitution. They look at you with a total blank stare if you mention it. Whenever you tell them that's how I spend my time, and they go, really? And they think I'm a little misguided or something, I think. But no, break out your Constitution, folks. It's right there.
I get the same response. Well, I know we had some significant promotions here in the last month. One of them was a young man by the name of Thomas Schultz. Want to tell us about him?
You know this state director thing, Dale, as you are well aware, it's kind of like being a coach. You have to continually substitute and move people around and do things to keep the organization going the way you'd like to see it go.
That's for sure.
Um,
That's for
yeah,
sure.
a vacancy came about for state grassroots coordinator. Thomas has been around for a good while. He's a region captain over multiple regions. Um, and he thought he still had the bandwidth to take on something else. And so whenever the opening came up, he was the first guy to raise his hand and basically said, "Well, here I am, and if you're considering me good, and if you're not, why?" So so we had a talk, and we put Thomas to work, and so he's going to work as a state grassroots coordinator, meaning that he basically oversees recruitment and training, handling all the work with the region and district captains, getting people onboarded and into the system, and doing some training and those kind of things. So he's
Good.
a busy fella.
Well, this next promotion is what generated the opening for Thomas.
That is
And this was,
correct. You know, we had Marty had to step away from the legislative liaison position. He's done a great job for a long time, and we really hated to see him go. He's still a regional LL, so he's still got his hand in the game, but I think he has some plans to do some traveling and some things with his family that kind of preclude him being quite as involved as he was. Luckily, our state grassroots coordinator, prior, Susan Gervais, had just moved to the Indianapolis area. So she is now close to the State House. And so on a random call, I asked her if she would have any thoughts about taking the LL position. And as it turned out, she was very interested in learning about what goes on at the State House and kind of being the person in the know and moving things along down there. So she's ready to go. She's getting
all right.
trained up with Marty, and our regional director, Catherine Zamanik, was also an LL in Michigan, she's also moved to Indiana, so she's down there in the same area, and so
Oh,
they should be able to team up and make a good pair down there.
as a matter of fact, Susan's going to be one of our guests next Monday. So
Good.
we got to bring her on, tell us what she's got cooking for her new position as legislative liaison. So,
Yeah, she's
okay,
going
great.
through that learning curve. So
Now, you mentioned another promotion, Diane Jones, who was super district captain and so forth, to the follow-up tool. What's that about?
well, I was talking with Diane whenever she was being considered for that state grassroots coordinator role too. And so we were talking about basic things, and Diane basically explained to me that she was retired, and as a retired person, she liked to pick how she spent her time, and she kind of evaluated all that we had going on, and the follow-up team basically is tasked with making contact with new petition signers to gauge their interest as potential volunteers and that kind of thing. And so Patrick Romack has been the follow-up team leader, and he basically greets everybody with an email offering them volunteer opportunities and giving them some basic introduction type of literature after they sign the petition. And Diane wanted to throw in her voice to follow up via telephone. And so she's making an attempt to contact all these folks by phone so that they've got not just an email, but a friendly voice to answer questions and kind of continue to gauge their interest for volunteering and those kind of things.
Good.
So
I think she'll do a great job at that. I'm sure
yeah,
she
and I
will.
think it's essential. We've been looking for somebody to fill that role for a while, and it was just
Yeah.
happenstance and good luck on our part that Diane stepped up. But we're very pleased to have her working in that.
Good deal. Good deal. Well, total supporters, we're almost to that 70,000 mark, aren't we?
You know, we are. And in talking with other people in the other flyover states, that's a pretty good number. If you compare us to what's going on in Michigan, Wisconsin,
Yeah.
Iowa, other places, that's a number to be proud of. You did some good work back in your state director days, Dale, making that number grow. And we're just trying to keep that moving.
Are we the largest one in the region? Do you?
In the flyover region, we may be.
You know,
I don't know
I,
for certain, but it's a pretty good number.
I hadn't really thought about that. That thought just popped in my mind. We might be the largest for our region at least. All right,
Yeah.
good. Almost that. We'll have to have some sort of celebration when you hit the 70,000, huh?
Yeah, that's right. That's
All
right.
right. Okay, let's. You wanted to mention something about the this election coming up in 2024, and so what's on your mind there?
Well, obviously, we always have a need for more volunteers. We have a number of positions to fill. District captain among the most important one, and we did. I sent out an email a couple of weeks ago, and we actually had probably a dozen people respond and put in the DC applications as a result of that email, which
Great.
we were real pleased to see that. But there's so much work to do, whether it's telephone calls, block walking, all this stuff that's going to be going on prior to the election. And as they always say now, perhaps this election is one of the most important elections we've ever had, maybe the most important. They're saying that every year now, every time we have an election. And I have a tendency to kind of agree just due to the knife's edge that the country is setting on. I'm sure you guys agree that we're not
Yeah,
moving
you
in a
gotta
positive direction. So um,
wonder about that. Yes, you do.
the
Yes, you do.
elections, I mean, becoming self-governing citizens is important for all of us, but of course the elections make a huge difference as well, and we need to try to move people into places that reflect our values as American citizens. And oftentimes we've kind of failed in that. It doesn't seem like people have a tendency to vote for what we believe in.
Let's. We got a little video here on this. Let's take a look at that, and then want to come back and close it out here. Okay, hold on.
District captains form the backbone of the Convention of States movement, fulfilling our vision of a citizen network that restores self-governance in America. As a district captain, you will help recruit, welcome, and educate other volunteers in your local area. You may also inform in-district volunteers of when they can have their voices heard at committee hearings at their state capital. COS provides cutting-edge training and connects you with patriots who have been exactly where you are starting. So get on the front lines of the movement to reclaim liberty. Apply today at conventionofstates.com.
Awesome. So just as a little bit more background, we have 100 House districts here in Indiana. And our goal is to have a district captain in each House district. And that district captain functions in a very important role because, number one, their key purpose is to build a relationship with their legislator, so that they recognize each other by sight, they become friends. They can talk about issues to include Convention of States and other things the district captain might be interested in. And there's somebody that the representative can listen to, or they can gauge citizen sentiment on a variety of issues to include Convention of States when a convention is called, adoption of amendments that may come. It's just a critical role. And then number two, they are the contact person for sharing Convention of States information within that House district. Maybe there's a town hall, maybe they're speaking at a library, maybe they're showing up with an information table at a festival. Just the work of trying to continually expose people who have not heard about us, so that they get that introduction and start thinking about what a self-governing citizen is these days and whether or not they've ever done that, and maybe they would like to change, and as all of us here present have, and get involved in politics and being politically active. It's a key role, very important, and so that's why we put so much emphasis on that.
I know in my years in Convention of States, the district captain has always been looked upon as probably the most important role in our organization. I mean, all the roles are important, but that is such a key role. But we always seem to be looking for people interested in stepping up and doing that. So
yeah, they are often still described as the tip of the spear whenever it comes to community and involvement with the legislature. They're the people that are on the front lines for sure.
All right. All right, Dale. Hey, thank you very much for giving us the update, and continue on doing the great job you're doing, bud.
You're quite welcome. I'm glad you gentlemen survived the eclipse with no ill effects.
A little sunburn, but yeah, that's okay.
I don't know. Ken seems a little strange. I don't know. I don't know if it's. I don't know what it is. All right. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Bye-bye.
All right. Good update. Well, Ken, let's. John Ackerman gave us some more John's journals, so let's take a look at one of his most recent John's journals. Okay.
Sounds good.
John Ackerman for Convention of States, Indiana. You know, I like a good discussion, a good conversation, and I like standing up for the truth as I see it and entering into an honest exchange of ideas with others. But I don't argue with people online. And here's one reason why. Back in the 1980s, A&W Root Beer tried to compete with McDonald's Quarter Pounder by selling a third-pound hamburger at a lower cost. That product, the third-pound hamburger, failed because most customers thought that a quarter pound was bigger. This is one reason why I don't argue online.
Well, the video was not clear, but
it had a little bit of hiccup in there.
A quarter pounder isn't bigger than a third of a pound.
I guess what's scary now is back then, I think most people had a fairly good math education, but I worry about going forward nowadays, really.
You know, we had an A&W root beer stand in our town, and that was a very, very popular stopping point for a lot of young people back then. So,
yeah. Well, I remember. Further math. I mean, our president is worried about the size of Snickers bars, so I guess at this point, we got to be careful.
Yeah. Well, we want to bring on Debbie Stewart here very shortly and get into the topic of squatter rights and constitutional property rights. And Ken, I guess you got a little parody that you would like to play before bringing her on, huh?
Yeah, Dale, I mean, we all wake up every day and I know that we battle every day with what's going on in our country. And sometimes you just have to, you really just have to laugh in order to get through the day. So, I found this to be quite a little giggle, and I thought everybody would appreciate a little bit of comedy before we let Debbie tell us all about squatters' rights. So sit back and enjoy. It's about a minute and a half.
All of your New York squatting needs. So this right here is a wonderful pre-squatted 4-bedroom, great for entertaining, fantastic starter squatter for a new couple if you want to start small. There's a lot of people in New York that want to be a homeowner, but they're not interested in putting a down payment on a house. There's actually a multi-family unit that's going to be going on the squatting market real soon. Really nice bones on this one. Hello? I think we're still good. So we got 2 empty garbage bins here, which is a really good sign that some vacancies might be opening up. A lady actually just inherited this place, but she's insanely busy with the funeral arrangements at the moment, so plenty of options for squatting start dates. Have you noticed that these people have been gone for a while?
No.
We follow the travel schedules of New York residents to help you find the perfect house to take over by squatting in it. Are you a homeowner? Traditional or squat? You the owner of this one?
Almost 30 years.
Did you ever go on long vacations?
Yeah.
When's the next one planned?
This summer.
August or?
End of August.
Also, when you do the August trip, if you wanted to extend it a little longer, you know what I mean? It's an option. Well, you never say never. Could be 3 months. So we could probably start doing some showings there late August. I'm always doing market research. I'm always looking for new leads of properties that could be right for you. No ring cam, that's good. I'm gonna give this one another couple of days, and I think I might start doing some showings here. We do property showings, create fake leases. I've developed relationships with law enforcement to help ease the transition by having the previous owner arrested if they do try to kick you out. They got that glass that you can't really see through, so I took some pictures last night from a building over. The owner here apparently has plans to go surfing in Australia for a few months, so it's gonna be a costly trip, mate.
So there you go, Dale. I might be a whole new real estate position opening up in the market.
It kind of sounds like it. Well, you know what, Ken? I don't know what happened to Debbie, but she is gone.
Wow. Now, Debbie, I'm sure she's trying to get back in here, Dale. But
I know we were having some technical issues with Debbie.
Yeah, she dropped out before we got started there. But
I don't see anything.
She might be showing up here any minute. In the meantime, I know we talk about squatters, and I know Debbie is the expert as far as. I think she's trying to come back in, but she's the expert on the constitutional side of squatting. So let's see if we can get Debbie back in here.
Yeah,
there she is.
Debbie, are you there?
Well, are you sure you guys aren't kicking me out on purpose? I'm just wondering.
Eclipse.
I don't know. I think that parody that Ken has been playing there, I think that's trying to kick you out, Debbie. I don't know what it is, but
I think Debbie saw one of those nice squatting homes, and I think she was going to try and contact the real estate agent.
You think so, huh?
Yeah.
So.
Did the video play okay for you guys?
It did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Here, so okay.
Well, Debbie, I know we wanted you to come on, and since you're our constitutional expert, come on and talk about squatter rights, which has been in the news here lately, versus constitutional rights. So, tell us just exactly. Start here with what are squatter rights?
Yeah. So first of all, before we get into the rights, what are squatters? And squatters go way back back to the Roman Empire, back to medieval England, back to the Wild West, and they occupy usually abandoned buildings or homes or properties without the permission of the owner. So that's what a squatter is. Now, squatters' rights are legal protections that those squatters get so that they can't just get thrown off the property. So it's interesting. It's technically illegal to squat, to be a squatter, but it's illegal, or you're not really supposed to throw them off the property either. And so it's kind of funny. It's like, well, this is illegal, but we'll add this illegal to that illegal. So squatters' rights are the fact that they get some protections. And so if you're a landlord and you have somebody that has or is on your property and refuses to leave, they have certain rights and you have certain legal rights. Both do. Now, one of the biggest things that they look at is how long has that person been in that property? And for the most part, like if you look at the United States, most states are 7 years or higher. So it's not like you can just move in for a month and then claim squatters' rights. Okay? But the problem comes, and this is what's going on in New York, is, well, they changed the law in 2019 too, so that didn't help. But the problem is the landowner has to jump through hoops to legally get them off the property, even though they're there illegally. Hang on just a second.
I think she's got
I told my husband he's not allowed to come home at this time to show how he works. And he must have broke the law. I don't know.
Debbie, is that a dog squatting problem you have there?
No, right? I even have the dogs are squatting around here. It's got to stop. So
folks, this is a real broadcast here. This is real, okay?
We're real patriots right here. We're real people. We've got dogs and squatters and everything. So the protections for squatters range anywhere from 7 to 20 years. So, for example, a lot of states, there are a lot of states that are 20 plus years. Okay, and so, for example, Hawaii, Ohio, Georgia, Illinois are 20 plus years. So that means that as part of their protection, they have to be there for at least 20 years in that. And the landowner never knew they were there. How that happens, I don't understand. But you know, an abandoned building.
How does someone live in a piece of property for 20 years and the landowner not know about it? I don't.
Right, exactly. But like that abandoned place that you showed on the video, that might be one of them, right?
Okay, that could be.
Yeah. And then there are some states here in the United States are 15 to 20 years, like Colorado, Kentucky, Michigan. Indiana is at least 10 years. So 10 to 19 years is Indiana, Texas, New York, etc. And then there's a few states that are 7 years or less. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I didn't know this. I just was surprised to hear this. Go ahead.
Yeah. So so just because they have legal protections doesn't mean that squatting is legal, but you have to do it the right way as a landowner, or you can actually get taken to court. You can get in more trouble if you don't. So the Wild West, you know, if somebody was taking your property or on your land, you grabbed 10 of your buddies and some rifles, and you all got in your horses and you rode out and forced them off your land, right? You can't do that anymore. And so squatting is a form of trespassing, but it involves the intention of actually claiming the property or ownership of that residency as yours permanently. Now, what's happening right now? Well, let's go on to the next topic, which is how do squatters gain legal rights? Okay, you would think it's easy to evict them, right? Hey, they're on your property, you own it. But an unauthorized tenant has the right to go through an eviction process. So it's kind of like a criminal has the right to go through due process. An unauthorized tenant gets to go through this eviction process that takes you through legal hoops. Okay. All right. And it really depends on the laws of the country, right? And the regulations that are going on at that time. So, these squatters gain legal protection through a process called adverse possession. So that's another name. That's kind of the formal name for squatters' rights. All right. And this is a legal principle that if someone occupies a property for a certain period of time without the owner taking action, they may gain or can gain legal ownership of that property. Okay. So the timing has to be right, the amount of time. And then the owner hasn't asked them to leave. So I guess the owner could know they're there but not say anything. I don't know.
Debbie, I have a question. So you're in between of all this. If the person that's squatting in the rental or the house and is not paying any rent, how does that give them any further rights? I mean, it seems to me that these people will maybe come in, they pay a month's rent, and then they stop paying, and then all of a sudden it's a year-long battle to get them thrown out of your house. You would think that the owner would have more rights based on the fact that they're not getting paid.
Right. So if you have a legal tenant who signs and they're not paying, you have more as a landowner or my brother, he lives in Ohio. He has 99 properties. So he worked himself up to 99 properties. And so he's the landowner of 99 places. You'll have a lot more rights when you have a formal legal tenant who signed it and isn't paying. You can't evict them. But this is somebody where there is no formal agreement, all right, and they're not paying, and the landowner hasn't said anything to them there. Now, if the landowner comes up to you and asks them to leave, they don't have to go because you have a certain process you have to go through. So, for example, if you saw somebody on your property, first thing you would do is go grab a legal officer, a police officer, and you would take the police officer to your home, and that police officer would write them up and, tell them what they have to do. And then the second thing is, I want to make sure I get this right because I wrote down these steps here. Hang on just a second. This is a very complex process. So, okay, so once they take the policeman there and they tell them, then they file something called an unlawful detainer action. But then if the squatter doesn't do his part, then you take them to court. Now you've got to get an attorney. All right. And then once, let's just say you did get them to leave, you can't touch their stuff. You have to have a written notice of what you will do with their things, and it has to get approved. So they tell you that don't even touch their stuff in your home because that could cause legal action against you. It's crazy. That's your property, but you have to fight to get it back. An example of that would be when we first moved here from Arizona, we rented a home, okay? And in that home, we tried to take really good care of it. We were there 3 years, but for some reason, our rental property guy at the last minute kind of freaked on us because we were moving. We had bought a home, blah, blah, blah. So we did not take pictures. We cleaned the house really well. We always took our shoes off in the house. And whenever he came over, he always complimented us. But at the last minute, he sent a note accusing us of leaving the house a mess, and he wanted a certain amount of money. Well, I called my brother in Ohio, and he's the landowner there, the property owner. And he said, in Ohio, the burden is on the rental person. I mean, on the renter. Okay, so here in Indiana, let me say that wrong. We had to take pictures to show we cleaned it, or they believe him. In Ohio, they believe the landowner, or they believe the rentee. Sorry, they're just opposite. So there was nothing we could do. So we met him halfway because he had us. And even though the house was clean, I couldn't go back in there. And he said things like you did this and you did that. I was like, what? We cleaned all that. So it's the same thing here. They're making it really hard for landowners to be able to claim their property and to just get it back.
Wow.
Now,
So Debbie, you've cleared up a little, in my mind, you've cleared up a little bit about the fact that, if you've got a contract and people are renting, that makes a lot of sense that you'd have to go through a little bit more to go on. But some of these things that we're seeing, in the news, these people are basically moving in. So my question would be, wouldn't it be a simple breaking and entry?
Yeah. So, it could be like in New York right now, they changed their law. Are these in New York typically? Is that what you're?
Yeah, I think most of the time you're seeing these happening in New York. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're scrambling. Yeah, they're scrambling to change the law. The media put it out there to everybody, so they're spreading the news that, hey, you can do this, because guess what? It's going to take them a while to get you out of there. But in 2019, they changed the law. So now the landowner has to have a special proceeding, and they have to file a lawsuit if somebody's in their property. Plus the fact that it's illegal to make a squatter vacate there. Okay, that's the first thing. And then the second thing is that they have such a backlog of these housing court cases. It's taking forever. So they're just getting to stay there. So they're saying in New York, go get the sheriff. Bypass the police, go get the sheriff. You take to the sheriff to the house to remove them. They write them up. And then there's a less than 30 days in New York, and there's more than 30 days, and they're both handled differently. So it just depends. But these people are banking on the fact that, you got to go through all these channels. There's a backlog of court cases. You got to have a special proceeding. You got to file a lawsuit. You got to hire a lawyer. So we're just going to kick back and hang out here.
So even if you put up a no trespassing sign on your door, you still have to go ahead and prove that it's your property and that these people have these rights, even if you post no trespassing.
Well, here's the interesting thing. They're setting up elaborate schemes now too. They're not just moving in. They're doing things like creating fake documents. Like, we signed this and it's ours and we paid. They start investigating the home before they break in to see what they can get away with, how it will work out, how often does the homeowner there, things like that. So they are premeditating a lot of this too.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting.
All right.
All right. So get us to the constitutional part here.
Okay. Is it constitutional? Absolutely not. It is not constitutional based. on the Supreme Court's decision in Cedar Point Nursery versus Hasid. Many state laws that allow squatters to reside on a property for months, if not years, may amount to unconstitutional Fifth Amendment taking of private property. Of course, that's unconstitutional because it has to be that government has to take it and they have to give you just compensation. But the application of squatters' rights varies across states, and the legal interpretations are all over the board. So you got to have a good lawyer. You got to know what your laws are in your state, what your rights are. And there's some really good recommendations they have here for, like in New York. And you just brought up a really good point. Inspect your vacant units all the time. Make sure there's no trespassers in there. Secure the properties. Make sure your doors and windows are locked. Pay your property taxes. They're even they're saying when you pay your property taxes, go down and look at your records, because if somebody else may be trying to pay them to say that it's their property. So actually paying the property taxes so the squatter can say, well, that's my house. I've been paying property tax. No trespassing signs, written notices, offer to rent it to squatters, call a sheriff, hire a lawyer, all these things you can do, or have a lawyer ready to go since it's such a big deal there. So, but the rightful owner must act within a certain statutory period, which is defined by the state, before the adverse possession law gives legal title to the squatter. So it's a crazy thing, and they're taking advantage of it. And so what I have read is New York is really trying to redo their law right now because it's too wide open and it favors the squatter. Yeah.
And we have obviously we don't have quite the problem that obviously is showing up in New York. Do you know anything about Indiana and our law there, Debbie?
I do. So in the 2022 Indiana Code, under Title 32 property, under Article 21, conveyance procedures for real property, under, where'd it go? Oh, here it is. Chapter 7 is adverse possession. And so it talks about what adverse possession laws, it talks about what they are. We are at least 10 years. So the time period required for occupation, it says 10 years, 15 years if it arose before 1982, September 1st. You have to have paid your taxes, and it gives you the code section, and then it tells you, for a valid adverse possession claim, you must demonstrate 4 things. You have to say you either made an honest mistake, you merely occupied the land, or you're aware of your trespassing. That's the first thing. You have to prove actual possession. You have to be physically present on the land. You have to have open and notorious possessions. The act of trespassing cannot be secret. And the 4th thing is you have to have exclusive and continuous possession. You can't share it with a claim of valid adverse possession in Indiana. So a lot of your real estate agents, probably this is part of their law, they have to take. Yep. So conclusion here, right?
Yep.
Go ahead, Dale.
Go ahead and wrap it up. We're about out of time. Wrap it up.
Oh, I thought you put my little banner up there. Where's my little red banner?
You want it up there? It says conclusion.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay. All right. So your landowners should familiarize themselves with the Indiana or whatever state laws they have. They should get an attorney, and then all those things we talk about, checking on your property, making sure you have signs and gates and fences and things that paying your property taxes. All those things can help you avoid this whole conundrum.
Wow.
So if you're my daughter is getting into this rental business, or she's thinking about it, and I know she's now concerned about this now. And I guess if you're an owner of rental property, you got to be in touch with that property. You got to be on top of it. You can't you can't just let things sit abandoned for weeks and months at a time anymore.
Nope.
It's I really, I thought, Debbie, going into this segment tonight, I really thought that it was a clear cut advantage for the property owner.
Mhm.
But you've really brought up some things about the legal rights of of the squatter that I wasn't aware of. So it's more complicated and more involved than I actually thought.
It is, and keep in mind though, New York's law used to be 10 plus years. No, actually, they were, I think, longer. Yeah, 10 plus years. But now, since they changed the law in 2019, it's still 10 plus years, but they can't get them out of there, quick enough. So, but most states, most people, these people coming as illegal immigrants and doing things like that, they've been in there, what, a month or two or a year maybe. So they ought to have some weight to their side of the issue.
Yeah, I think you're going to see a lot of states address this issue in upcoming legislative sessions, because with the influx of the illegal immigrants, it's all of a sudden become much more of a problem than it was. It seems to me, at least.
Right.
All right. Well, Debbie, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Great to be here.
Good to see you.
And Ken, Debbie's already told me that she's big on the World Health Organization, one of her favorite organizations. So
I see.
I think we're going to get her back in May, probably, maybe to talk about the WHO. Is that right, Deb?
Yeah, because May is when they sign the treaty and Biden signs it and basically signs off our sovereignty as far as our health goes. And it's going to include everything like education, because your mental health. So they're going to try to use the World Health Organization to tell us what to do in a lot of areas here.
Oh, great. Oh, great. That's wonderful.
Can't wait.
All right. Thanks a lot, Debbie.
Thanks,
All right,
Debbie.
guys. Bye.
Oh, my.
Something else to look forward to, Dale.
Something else. Well, listen, Ken, I wanted to play real quick here. Wanted to touch base on, and let everybody know that we are developing different, what we call series. And and of course, as a subscriber, you become, as a subscriber, you get access to all the different series that we're creating. And when I say series, I'm talking about a series of videos addressing a particular topic. And I mentioned earlier that Gary Harbaugh is doing a series on national debt, and John Ackerman is preparing a series on the basics of Convention of States, which ought to be very, very good, especially for individuals that aren't familiar with Convention of States. And that's
a brand new one. Yeah.
And those are the types of individuals we're trying to reach here with our broadcast.
Yeah.
But we have another series being developed, and that's by one of our region captains, Larry Hudson. And Larry is creating a series called Meet the Founders. So we've got a little snippet here of one of the episodes that he did on Thomas Jefferson, and he's actually it's turned out that that's just part one. He's going to have to do a part two because there's so much written about Thomas Jefferson. So I wanted to play that. Ken kind of edited it down to kind of a promotional thing. So I want to play that so everybody kind of get a flavor of what Ken is preparing, not Ken, but what Larry's doing for us with Meet the Founders. So let's play that now, and hope you enjoy this. Well, greetings, everyone. This is Dale Parrish again, our virtual program coordinator for COS Indiana Live in Indiana. And I want to welcome you back to our Meet the Founders series with our speaker, Larry Hudson. So Larry is, this is a new series that we've created specifically for our subscribers to COS Indiana Live. And this will be episode number 2, and this will be about one of our founders, Thomas Jefferson, one of our very, very famous founders, well-known, well written about.
Let me start, I think, Dale, with a quote that I read somewhere along the line that JFK made. He made it back in the early 60s, I think. He was welcoming a group of Nobel Prize winners to a dinner in their honor at the White House. And he's quoted as saying, and I'm going to read it here, quote, "I think this is the most extraordinary collection of talent, of human knowledge that has ever been gathered together here at the White House, with the possible exception of when Thomas Jefferson dined here alone." I thought that pretty much summed up.
That's good. That's good.
What a lot of people think about Thomas Jefferson, actually. As we all know, he was a primary author of the Declaration of Independence in 1776. Our nation's first Secretary of State under President George Washington, our nation's second Vice President under John Adams, and then in 1801, he became our nation's third president.
Okay.
But he went on, he was also a firm proponent of individual rights, God-given as he saw them, and he produced many formative documents and historic decisions, actually, at the state, national, and even at the international level back in that day. He was also an inventor, a lawyer, an architect, and an educator.
My goodness.
Yeah, he graduated from the University of William and Mary at the age of 18, just 2 years after he enrolled in the university.
Is that right? Wow.
Yeah. And in addition to designing his home, we all know as Monticello, he also designed the Virginia State Capitol, as well as the rotunda in the University of Virginia, which he also founded.
There you go. You're muted, Dale. That's a hard thing to remember, isn't it?
It is. It is. But I hope that gives everyone a little flavor as to what Larry's doing with that series, and just for everyone's information, that part 1 on Thomas Jefferson, I believe that was a 30-minute video, 30-minute session that we had with Larry there, that I had with him. So, and he's preparing part 2. Now, he did do episode 1. He has done an episode. Was on George Mason.
Yeah.
And so that's available. But so this was episode 2, part 1. So we'll. I think it's going to be very interesting and very informative. I learned a lot from that session with Larry, even about Thomas Jefferson. I mean, the man was outstanding, very unbelievable. But
yeah,
he had some questionable side to him too. So, and maybe Larry will get into that as well. Okay.
It shows that none of us are perfect, right, Dale?
That's for sure. That's for sure. All right. Well, Ken, let's kind of wrap things up here. I want to mention to everyone that what we got planned for our next broadcast, which is going to be, of course, next Monday, April 15th. We've got a lady coming on from Moms for Liberty, a group that we've actually, Ken and I actually Ken, you interviewed, I think, one of the founders.
Yeah, Tiffany, I believe, and it was a while ago. So yeah, it's been a while since we did anything.
It's been a while ago.
Yeah.
Well, the lady coming on next Monday is Natalie Forbing, and she is from Moms for Liberty here in Indiana. So I wanted to bring her on and find out from her what's going on in this organization here in Indiana, because they, from what we know, Ken, they're an organization that relates well with Convention of States. So very interested in that interview coming up. We also have, as we mentioned earlier with Dale Tipton, we have our new legislative liaisons, Susan Gervais, coming on, and we'll get to learn more about Susan and get some idea as to what she has planned for coming up for her new job as our legislative liaison. So ought to be an interesting broadcast next Monday evening. Of course, then coming up on the 22nd of April, fourth Monday of the month, will be our next roundtable. And we got a good topic, I think. Censorship in America.
I don't think we've had a bad topic yet, have we, Dale?
I don't think so. I think we've had some very good topics. John Ackerman, of course, is the host, and I think does an outstanding job with our roundtable. So looking forward to that one. Might also want to mention that we've got, well, what did I do here? I guess I didn't, I don't know if I'm showing that or not. I did episode 12 on our podcast.
Yeah.
COS Indiana Live Voices. And is that one on Spotify.com, Ken? Is that out there?
That's not up yet, but it will be shortly. So Christy Stutzman at episode 12. Yeah, we'll be up shortly.
All right, good. And we've already recorded episode number 13. So we'll be publishing that in the near future. And that one was with one of our outstanding region captains, Vicki Mooring. So I had a good interview with her, good discussion with her, learn more about all about her. So we've got some good podcasts going on here. I hope everybody enjoys tuning into those. And I want to mention also, before we sign off here, that our email address, in case anybody's got a comment or a question after the broadcast is over, you can email us to raiseyourvoicecos@gmail.com. That's raiseyourvoicecos@gmail.com. Well, Ken, I think that's a wrap for this evening. I'm going to bring up our thumbnail, and then we'll close out with our video from Mark Meckler that we always enjoy watching. So, Ken, I guess we'll go spend the rest of the evening talking about the eclipse, huh?
I suppose we'll go. I'm going to go review some of the footage that was probably taken all across the country today.
Yes, and there'll be plenty of it, I'm sure.
Hopefully, we can all get somewhere. I understand traffic in the state has been just horrible. So,
yeah, I guess the state is really well. We were right in the path, weren't we? So yeah, brought a lot of revenue, I guess, to the state. But so anyway, Ken, you have a good evening, and we will see you again next Monday evening. So
see you, Dale.
All right. And let's see here if we can get to our video for this evening. And here we go.
I struggle to empathize with people who would give up. It doesn't make sense to me. Sam Adams said, for those of you who prefer safety and security over liberty, over the animating fight for liberty, I hope that you Enjoy licking the hands that feed you. May your chains rest lightly upon you, and may posterity forget that you are our countrymen. Like, do you understand that your kids and you are sentencing your kids and your grandkids and your friends' kids and your neighbors' kids to a lifetime of slavery and servitude, literally, of fear, of living in the darkness? But never, ever, never, never, never give up. George Washington lost the majority of his battles that he fought in the American Revolution. If you read his writings, if you read the letters where he was writing to Congress asking for money and troops, he was saying, we're losing. I don't have the troops I need. I don't have the supplies I need. Did he quit? What about the guys on the beach at Normandy? Like, what did they do? Did they just quit? Oh, there's, a lot of guys are dying around me. It's really bad. It looks really dismal. Those cliffs are huge. Machine gun fire raining down on us. And it's too hard. We should just quit. Thank God those people didn't quit. If they had, where would we be? I get discouraged for sure. And I will quit fighting at some point. And that point is when the first shovel of dirt hits the top of my box 6 feet down.